Welcome to the Good Life Podcast. I'm Kyle Kazia, minister at North Mac. Today I'm joined by Grant Morgan, one of our deacons. Hey, Grant, how are you doing?
Doing good. Thanks.
How's Denver's football team going?
It's actually going pretty good. They've got a winning record and looks like they'll make the playoffs.
Well, that's good. He is a sophomore?
Yes,
is
sophomore.
That right?
Yeah.
So does he play both JV and varsity or just varsity?
Yeah, JV season's over though,
Okay.
So it's just varsity now.
Just varsity, okay. And what positions does he play?
Linebacker and then offensive line.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's a pretty technical, the offensive line. Does he enjoy that? Which one does he enjoy more?
A linebacker. He's actually trying to convince his coach to move him to tight end next year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's not quite as big as some of the other guys that he goes up against on the offensive line. So.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I would think defense would be more fun because it's just go get ball, tackle.
Exactly.
Like, that's all you got to do. You just got to one job. Just go get the person.
Go get the ball.
That's right. Well, Grant, I am excited to have you. You've been, just a great deacon over the last few years that you've served, and you have a new mission work that you're going to be starting later this year, and we'll get to that in a moment. But I thought it'd be good to have you on, kind of talk about that, and just kind of go through some things about why you came to North Mac and those kinds of things. So let's start, Grant, with how long have you, Vanessa, and Denver been at North Mac?
We came here, I believe, 2021. So it was right after COVID, coming out of COVID, basically. You guys still had strings on the pews.
Yeah, that's right. We kind of blocked it off. So it was every other pew to have a little bit of social distancing, which wasn't really too hard in those early days because, not very many people were even coming to services. So that was a very unique time to come.
Everybody wearing masks.
Everyone wearing masks, and the whole shebang. So why did you guys pick North Mac?
We visited many congregations. We were looking for a place that had a good youth group, obviously, because at the time we had, all three of the kids were at home.
Yep.
We were looking for a place that was like very active, looking mostly at community outreach was a big thing for us too. So those are some of the key things that we were looking for.
Yeah. And I mentioned Denver because he's still at home with you now.
Yeah.
But you have two other sons. What are their names and what are they doing now?
So Mulikin, he is our oldest, and he is a flight attendant for Delta.
Nice.
Technically living out of New York City.
Okay.
And then Seifu is our middle son, and he now lives here in Oklahoma City and on his own in an apartment, and he works at the OU Health Science Center with a bunch of the guys here from church.
Yeah, it's crazy how that has really grown our presence over there. It always kind of starts with one, and then you get that connection, but that is one of our major employers of some of our members.
Yes.
Which is what a blessing for him to be able to work over there with, some familiar faces.
Yeah.
So Grant, we're happy to have you at North Mac, but your story with Christianity and your kind of walk with Christ, began a lot earlier than when you came to us. So how did you become a Christian, or maybe who led you to Christ?
I mean, it's a pretty typical story for a lot of people. I grew up going to church. Was baptized probably around the age of 12. I just remember kind of a sudden moment where it's just kind of, I started actually listening to what was being taught and like, oh, wait, no, I need to actually do something. Just being here is not enough.
Yep.
And so kind of, grew up, my parents kind of, were the influences that led me there. Grandparents were influential. So just kind of that story, just growing up. And then from there, went to Oklahoma Christian. And kind of that at a Bible study at Oklahoma Christian is where I really kind of actually went from probably a stagnant Christian, I guess, to like, oh, I need to really, take this serious. Because it was still kind of almost like, well, it's just the lifestyle. I just followed the Christian lifestyle, but really kind of opened my eyes to like, I need to make sure I examine everything and really believe it, not just believe what I grew up being taught.
Yeah.
So I think to me, it's like that's where I really got serious, from that point on.
Yeah, you really made your faith your own.
Yeah.
When I talk with people about spiritual growth, it's not a straight line, right? It's not something that you just keep getting better at every single year. There's ups and downs. And I think a lot of us can get stagnant in our faith. And so it's always good to have people surrounding us that can kind of push us on grow a little more. So Grant, you've been with us since, around the pandemic times. So how long have you served as a deacon?
I think I'm on my 4th year or 4 years now. So, yeah.
Yeah. And the best thing about Grant is although he's only been a deacon for 4 years, he's been in charge of some of these things that we're going to talk about in a moment for a little longer than 4 years. He kind of jumped right in, helping out with some stuff. So what are some of the areas that you serve in?
I think, if I think right, 3 areas as my main focus. I am the deacon over the 20s class, trying to help grow that group, and it's actually taken off.
Yeah.
Community lunch is one that I kind of was doing before I became a deacon. So the best way to become a deacon of something is that you like is start it.
Start it. Yeah, that's right.
Community lunch, and then the Shining Stars Ministry, which is our adoption and foster care group. So that's been going on a few years. So I was part of a group that kind of helped start that, and now I'm one of the deacons.
And there was a past service that now you've retired from. You've handed that off. So tell us a little bit about that one.
Oh yeah, Mighty Men. I was with Stephen doing the Mighty Men program, which, helping the young men be more involved in serving, leading worship. So we did that a couple of years, and this past year, me and Stephen decided we need to hand the torch off to a few other people. So we just completed our last Mighty Men service, and now we'll be there maybe to answer some questions, but it's now on the hands of 2 others.
Yeah. And that's a good model. You and Stephen, you had an idea. You said, hey, we need to do this. We're going to do it. We're going to kind of figure out the program. And, I think where we're at now with the program, it is phenomenal, right? The first year, as we were kind of, okay, this works, this doesn't work. And as we've kind of grown, we're like, oh, this really is, we're cooking with oil now. And like you said, hey, we can't do this forever.
Right.
So let's train some younger guys to kind of take over. And so hopefully those guys in, 5, 6 years, they're like, okay, maybe it's time for us to train some younger guys and for them to take over.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the model of leadership in the church, right? Training the next generation. I think Paul says it to Timothy, teach faithful men to teach faithful men. And he doesn't go, etc., but that's basically what he means there. So, you mentioned community outreach was something you were really interested in when you came here. And so we started a community breakfast. Now it's a lunch. So tell us a little bit why you wanted to start that, maybe some past experience with that type of ministry, and kind of how it started and where you kind of took it.
Yeah, so that actually began from a previous congregation we were at Cherokee Hills. The last big tornado that went through Moore, I don't even remember the year, but a lot of congregations were actually contacting churches here to see how they could help. And so Cherokee Hills was getting boxes of clothes from other congregations out of state, and we were supposed to be taking them down to the Moore area and trying to figure out how. And so we coordinated with the church down there how we can distribute these clothes to people that need it. But they got to a point down there, they're like, we've got too much stuff. Stop sending stuff.
Yeah.
But here we were still receiving stuff, and we weren't asking for it, but people were sending it. So we ended up with a room full of clothes.
Yeah.
And it sat there for a year, probably 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And finally I went to the elders and said, hey, can we do something with this? And so we came up with this idea of, let's have a breakfast. We'll set out clothes. People can come in, eat breakfast, go through the clothes, take what they need, just open it up to the community. And so it was a free breakfast and clothes giveaway that we did once a month there. And it actually grew. We did it probably 7 years, and they're still doing it actually. Yeah. So, but I was there 7 years doing it, and it got to where we'd have 100 to 150 people every month coming in on that once a month, coming in and getting stuff and establishing some relationships. So it was an idea of way to get out to the community, get to know some people from the community that we don't see in the coming in the doors.
Yep.
And hopefully that could lead people to be more comfortable in our building, more comfortable with us. And so when we came to North Mac, thought, well, maybe we can try to do something similar. Now, dealing with all the clothes every month was a nightmare.
Yeah.
And so I was like, maybe we can do it without the clothes. Let's see if it'll work. And so we tried the breakfast. Weren't getting a lot of people. We were able to get a few coming in, but
for some pretty regular folks.
Yeah, we had some regulars, but it just wasn't what we were hoping. And we thought, well, maybe it's too early in the morning because people will come early if there's free clothes.
Yeah.
Is what we discovered.
Yeah.
But we did not want to introduce the clothes situation.
Right.
And so we moved it back to a lunch, and now we're getting a good 25 to 30 people coming in every month. So, and BJ did a good job of bringing in the nursing home side of it. So now we bring the people over from the nursing home to feed them as well. So it's kind of grown into its own thing from what we were doing back at Cherokee Hills.
Yeah.
But we've kind of made it our own thing here.
Yep.
And so that's kind of where that came from.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. Any chance that we can emulate Jesus by sharing food with people, I think is worth the effort and worth the time. Because it seemed like he was always, hanging out with folks and eating with them.
Yeah.
It is funny. There's some people who they're here like clockwork every time we have it.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And then I feels like every single time we have 2 or 3 new families that we've never seen before. Maybe we never see them again, but there's a lot of turnover. So we're impacting quite a few, over the years, we've impacted quite a few folks in our local area.
Yeah. And every now and then we'll see one of them stroll into services. And make sure we grab them in the back of the pew and get to know them a little bit better since they're coming to worship as well. So
yeah. And, sometimes folks want to know, like, well, have you had any baptisms, that kind of thing? And we have. I think there's one lady who living out of her car needed food. She came over and we studied with her. She's been baptized. And I think we've worked with her some. And I think now she has a somewhat steady job and she's starting to save some money. And so hopefully she can be completely done with living out of the car. But it's what a blessing that it all that some of that started with just this free lunch that we're offering our community.
Yeah, and it's also one of those ministries you never know what's going to happen down the road.
Right.
Like we have a regular that comes in, and people have invited him to church, and he's like, "I'm not interested," but he still comes. For me. Yep. He still comes to the lunch every time, and he will talk for 2 hours.
Oh yeah,
he will follow you around and talk to you. So he loves talking. So I'm just like, eventually, I think something might happen with him, and he might. His heart will change. His
heart will soften at some point, and we'll be there to share the gospel with him. So what's been the most rewarding thing about being a deacon?
To me, it is getting to know more people that I probably wouldn't.
Right.
Just inside the congregation itself. You serve, you're doing, like, for instance, the lunch. You're serving along other people, and there's people that will come in and like volunteer that you might not see in the auditorium after services or talk with or get to know. And so you get to know different people. You get to know the church better. You get to know a wide variety of people. And then you get to, serve and be a part of God's church with people that you probably wouldn't.
Yeah. I think one of the kind of underrated parts of mission work or community service or just like working together for a common goal is the bonds that are built between, like, it's obviously good that we go to Kayenta, Arizona, or we serve people lunch, or, we put on a trunk or treat. Like that's all good. Like we're reaching out to the community, all those kinds of things, or doing mission work. That's all great. But the experience you have working together, that sometimes can be just as impactful on our faith or just as rewarding as the actual, like, the thing we're doing. Right. So like, and I loved, this is something you said early on. It's like, the worst case scenario is no one shows up and we have some great fellowship together, eating breakfast. And it's like, that's a really good attitude because it is good. And now, we have this very consistent group of volunteers that are there pretty much every month, and they've built really good friendships with each other. Like you're saying, people that maybe in a big congregation like this, you're not able to always get around to talking to. You see them every month at community lunch, and those bonds of unity really, really strengthen.
Yeah.
So you have a new kind of mission work. You're starting this year, right? Like later this year.
I leave in 3 weeks.
Okay, 3 weeks. Okay, it's coming up. So this is kind of exciting. So tell us, how did you get connected with this? Why are you helping with this? What all is it? Just kind of tell us all about it.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a long story and I got a short version, so I'll kind of try to do
Well, it's a podcast, so you can do the long version.
Earlier this year, I kind of got to a point that I was like, I'm ready to start, doing something.
Yeah.
Doing something more.
Yep.
I guess a little backstory. Me and Vanessa have always had an idea that we want to do something mission related or something ministry related. And one thing that we've been pulled to a few different times, but it's never worked out, is working with the Timothy Hill Ranch. We've been offered to move to a few of the ranches a few different times, but the timing never worked out. We still have an option, maybe in a few years, once our kids are all out of the house, we may look at doing something like that. But it kept being one of those things. It's like, well, eventually we're going to do it. And I thought, eventually needs to happen now. It doesn't have to be necessarily what my plan is, but I'm ready to be open to doing something that I can start doing now without moving. And so I just started every morning. I spend an hour reading scripture, reading a religious type book of some sort, and praying. And I started that earlier this year, and just leave it open-ended, just like, God, I know you're going to do something with me soon. And I could feel something was going to happen. I didn't know what it was. I even kind of tried to push a few doors open to kind of test the waters, like, oh, is this where I'm supposed to be going? And nothing was really like being obvious until this summer. Tyler actually invited me to go play golf with him and his father-in-law.
Yep.
Just an innocent game of golf. And about halfway through the round, Wes Autry, his father-in-law, said, "What do you do for a living?" And I started the typical, trying to explain what I do, because most people don't understand it.
Yep.
And I got about halfway through explaining it, and I was like, you know what? I don't like it. It's boring, and I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And kind of was blunt with him, and he's like, okay, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, well, I've been thinking about trying to be doing something in ministry. And he said, well, how about you come to Bear Valley in August? He said, the International Bible Schools of Bear Valley have a yearly retreat. We basically update everybody on what we've been doing over the past year, because most people might not be aware, Bear Valley has over 80 international Bible schools.
So real quick, if people don't know, what is Bear Valley?
So Bear Valley, it's the preaching school in Denver, Colorado. It's where a lot of preachers will go to learn how to become preachers, and then, move out into congregations and do the work that, evangelizing.
So one side is training preachers to be domestic workers.
Yes.
And then you mentioned 80 or so extension schools.
So, so what they did is early on, they would bring people from other countries in to Colorado.
To Denver.
And they realized some of these people don't want to go back.
Yeah.
You get to America, it's like, wait, it's nice here.
Yeah.
I don't want to go back and become a preacher there. But the idea was we need to establish preachers in their countries. That way they can be more effective, because, somebody that's native to a country is going to be more effective than a missionary.
Right.
That doesn't know the culture, know the language. And so the idea was, well, we need to figure out a way to have these schools in their home countries.
Right.
And so they started, it's a pretty much bare bones school that they put in the country, and they train them in their country. That way they're there, they're already in the living conditions that they're going to be living in. Nothing changes. They don't pull them out of their culture. They keep them in. And that way they learn to be preachers in their culture. And that way they're ready to go hit the ground running as soon as they're out. And so that's kind of what started with them. And now they're over 80 schools. I can't even remember how many different countries they're in now.
Yeah.
Because some countries have multiple schools.
Yeah, they have multiple schools.
Like Nigeria is crazy.
Yeah.
Right now they have like 10 to 15.
Yeah.
So it's a growing program. And so what they try to do is they try to have their in-country staff, so their teachers and director of each school, but they also try to have somebody in the United States that's overseeing the school.
Yep.
So each school should have somebody here in the United States that's kind of communicating with the in-country staff, visiting the school twice a year to make sure things are, going right. If there are ever problems, the stateside coordinators are the ones that kind of handle it or figure out how to handle it. So that's kind of how it's been set up.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I'm doing now, is I am going to be a coordinator for the South Sudan Preaching School in Bor, South Sudan.
So how long has that school been around?
It's been, I think this is their second year.
Okay.
So they started last year.
Yep.
It started with a couple of guys from South Sudan went to Tanzania, because there was a preaching school in Tanzania, and that was the closest one to them.
Yep.
And they wanted to learn. So they moved to Tanzania for school.
Yep.
And then came back to South Sudan and started churches. But they realized quickly we're planning these churches, but we need more preachers to help like these churches continue to grow. And so they contacted Bear Valley about starting a program in South Sudan. And so it was started. They didn't have a stateside coordinator. And so Keith Kasargent, who's the director of all the international schools, so he kind of keeps an eye on everything. He was kind of handling the day-to-day operations on his side. And so whenever I told him I was ready to go, I want to help out, he's like, well, South Sudan needs a place or needs somebody to help. So that's what I've jumped into.
Awesome. So you're the stateside coordinator. What all does that entail?
So the main thing is every week I'm in contact with somebody there at the school, mainly a guy named Jacob, who is one of the guys I went to Tanzania. He's the director of the school in the country. So I contact him once a week, make sure everything's fine. If he has any problems, he'll reach out to me. So I'm just basically his main contact.
Yep.
And then once or twice a year, depending on travel restrictions, I'll be going over there.
Yep.
And while I'm there, this first trip, I leave in 3 weeks, actually.
Yeah.
So I'll be making my first trip in 3 weeks. This trip, I will be doing a lot of, first of all, meeting the people for the first time, getting to know them, getting to know the students. Keith Sargent is actually going with me on this first trip because he's never been to the school.
Right.
He's been to South Sudan once, but never actually to the school. He's going to teach a class while we're there.
Yep.
And I'm going to sit in on his class a few days just to kind of get a good feel for it, because in the future trips, I'll be teaching.
Yep.
And so when I'm in country in the future, I'll be teaching a class. This trip, I'll be kind of observing his class, but then after I've kind of got a good handle on it, me and Jacob will probably actually go out into the community, try to find future students, find future Bible studies, kind of try to start getting some interest in the community built up. So,
do you know how many students they have right now?
They currently have 12 students.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah.
They had 15 and had to dismiss a few. It's a really interesting.
It's not an easy program.
It's not. And South Sudan is I'm excited because it's an interesting situation. South Sudan, it became a country in 2012.
Yeah.
It's
not
the
an old
youngest country in the world, or the longest recognized country.
Yeah.
It's also the poorest country. But even since they split off from Sudan, they've had internal conflict.
Yeah.
They have two tribes that are always at odds. And so it's not a very safe place. We rely on Jacob to tell us if it's safe to come over there or not. He said right now it is. Earlier this year it wasn't.
Yeah.
But because there's two different tribes that are always at odds with one another, you get a lot of, problems. Well, inside the school, there are 7 students from one tribe and 5 from another.
Yeah.
And early on, there was some conflicts inside. The 3 that got dismissed were because they couldn't let politics go.
Yeah.
But the 12 that are still there are now like getting along. Early on, they wouldn't eat together. Now they're eating each other's food because like each tribe has their own like diets and type of food they eat. Now they're all together as one.
Yep.
And so it's kind of a neat, almost like a Romans church type thing, like Jew, Gentile diversity going on.
Well, that is the gospel.
Yeah.
Right? The gospel is reconciling us to God, but also reconciling us to each other.
Yeah.
And bringing people who were at odds, who would be fighting or warring or politically distant, bringing them together and all united around Christ. And, I love this strategy of we're going to have extension schools. So they're going to use some of our resources. They're going to be local. We're not going to be pulling people out of their country. We're going to keep them right in their country. And mostly the extension schools are led by nationals. So people from that country. There's a few that aren't, but they're transitioning towards that, right?
Yeah.
And so that is what a great model of eventually they're going to be self-sustaining, which is, similar to our model of actual mission work. It's going to be self-sustaining. You're going to have leadership, local leadership, and all those kinds of things. So I bet you're pretty excited for your trip. New challenge, new way to serve. You talk about you've been serving in so many different ways. Bible class teacher, all these different things. But this will definitely be a stretching experience for you, and just a whole new ball game.
Yeah, and who knows what the future is going to be? But my hopes is that this one school will lead to multiple schools. And like selfishly, I hope it leads to schools in neighboring countries, because sometimes that happens. They'll have students from a neighboring country come in, like South Sudan.
South Sudan, yeah.
Well, so I'm hoping Ethiopia will be the next area that we can move into, and I can not only have South Sudan schools under me, but I can now branch out to be regional. Yeah, like have multiple schools to where I'm doing more of that and less of my real job that I've been doing. So if I could transition this into a longer term, bigger thing, that'd be great. But right now I'm just focused on, let's get this first school going and see where it leads.
Yeah. And that's the amazing thing is when you open yourself up to what God is doing in the world, there's no telling where he might take you and where it might lead and what you might do. And you can just kind of follow him and allow him to just lead you wherever he might take you.
Yeah, and kind of going back to what you said, what led us to North Mac, and we talked about community outreach. One thing that we weren't aware of, I mean, we were a little bit, but not fully, is how mission minded
Mm-hmm.
North Mac is. And after being here, you kind of see all the mission works that
Yeah.
North Mac is in. So to be able to go to the elders with this new mission work
Yeah.
was very comforting, knowing how open they
Yes.
are to new mission work. And so they are now my official sponsoring
Yep.
congregation. So it's just great that they are how focused they are on that kind of work.
Yeah. The kind of core or the ethos of mission work is one of our main things, has been here since the beginning. And it's, they've always wanted to, and they even have goals of, so much of the budget would be towards mission and all these things. And, we have the ability, being richly blessed in so many material ways, to support so many different works. We had Mel on the podcast a few months ago, and he talked about kind of the idea of training people. That's like a key part of it. It's not just going over and, doing the work ourselves, but it's also training folks. And it's all kind of centered around winning souls, centered around sharing the gospel. And an extension school that trains preachers really fits right in with that work.
Yeah.
Well, Grant, thanks for being on the podcast. Hopefully this has been good for all those that are listening, that they can learn a little bit, not only about you, but about this. It was great work at Bear Valley. If you are wanting to help with any of the things Bear Valley does, you can go to wetrainpreachers.com and find all about Bear Valley Bible Institute in Denver, I think is the full name. And there's all sorts of ways that you can contribute and get involved. Earlier this year, we had on our two students, Levi Saylor and Olivia Stewart. I think they are completing, this is their third semester, so they're almost done. And they kind of cram everything into 4 semesters there. And so if you want to, contribute to any of those, the great things that they're doing up there, you can do that all through their website. And you can contact whoever needs to be done. Well, thanks again for listening. And until next week, grace and peace to you.